Okay, morning everyone. So in this video, I'm going to go over a bit more of the information you'll need and the procedures that we'll be using in bio this year, well, this semester, and particularly how remote learning is going to work as well. Firstly, here is a rough planner for semester 2. Obviously, it might change at the moment, depending what happens with COVID. This is on Compass Resources, and you should download it. Keep it with your Bioscience resources or stick it up on your wall somewhere so it's visible. So we're starting the term in week 2 because you had extended holidays. We're doing a short unit on cell biology for about 2 weeks. And then we get onto our main topic for term 3, which is genetics. So at the end of the cells topic, there's a short test that's not a CAT, just to see how much you improved in the cells topic. And then when we do genetics, early on in that topic, our first CAT is researching a genetic disease or disorder. And at the end of the genetics topic, either in week 10 or possibly at the start of term 4, there's a test covering all of genetics. So 2 CATs for that topic. Term 4 is all about evolution. And at the end of term 4, there is an evolution test, which is our 3rd CAT. At this stage, exams are in, but that could obviously change depending what happens. Okay, so that's our schedule. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the procedure for how remote learning is going to work. So this file is also in Compass Resources. Make sure you download it, stick it somewhere visible, because this is the process you'll be following most lessons when we're learning new content. So, first of all, at the start of each topic, we go through a few routines at the start. So, firstly, you complete a pre-assessment, which we did last lesson. This is for me to see what level you're starting at, because we know that people are starting with different levels of biology knowledge, and I want to know where you are. Then I'll email you your results from your pre-assessment so you know where you're starting. You'll receive those sometime today. I'm still working through them. Next, you need to download the unit planner and stick it in your book if you've got a printer. Otherwise, save it in your Bioscience folder. And then complete the goal setting task and submit it to Compass. So that will be in learning tasks. So let's look at this unit planner next. Here it is. So this is what our unit planners will look like. And they're pretty similar to just a list of success criteria, like you might get in other subjects, but they're arranged from easy to hardest. And that's because I'm going to teach you the easy concepts first, and then we work up to the harder ones. So with the unit planner, you always start at the bottom, and we can see in the dark green at the bottom, these are the main learning intentions that we'll be learning in the cell biology topic. So the first learning intention is, can you explain the classification of life? So that's going back to year 7 when you learnt classification. The next one is, how can you describe cells? And so on. And then within each of those, there's different success criteria at different levels. So if you're starting at level 7, based on your pre-assessment, these are the skills you'll be learning first. You'll be learning, can you list all 5 kingdoms? Can you define what a cell is? And can you define what an organelle is? And define unicellular and multicellular. And then in the yellow, there's all the vocab. They're keywords that you need to know to be able to do those skills. So always be thinking, what level are you working on at the moment? And the unit plan is there to show you what you're learning at that level. Okay, so going back to the instructions, each lesson will either be doing a whole class task altogether, or you will be doing working time where you're learning content at your level. So normally we'd be working in instructional groups in the class, but it's a little bit different at home. You'll be working obviously on your own, but hopefully talking to people with your phones or chatting in our discussion groups on Teams to help each other. So if we're doing a whole class task, you just read the instructions on Compass and it depends what task it is. If we're doing working time, this is the process for working and learning new content. You download the resources and the activities for your level, and those will be in Compass resources. And we'll look at one of those in a minute. Then read the instructions on each slide to complete each task. And my goal is you should aim to complete at least 3 tasks every period. Some take less time than others. Some might just take 5 minutes, but other tasks are a whole worksheet. But that's my general goal. So let's look at an example of one of these activities. So they'll be a PDF file, and they're basically just a PowerPoint, but they've got a whole list of different activities for you to work through for that particular level. So if you're starting at level 7 in cells, here's the first activity, and the yellow box is where you find your instructions. So you'll always have to do this first. It just says copy the heading and copy the learning intentions in your book. If there's ever a pencil, that tells you need to copy that down. So these are the 4 learning intentions for level 7. You'd copy them down, and then you've done that activity. Let's move on. So this activity is about the 5 kingdoms, and it's a note-taking task. I'll always tell you what kind of task it is. So copy the heading and information into your notebook. We're simply copying down all the information. So this is going over the 5 kingdoms that we learnt in Year 7. Hopefully you remembered a few of them. When you've done that, we move on again. So this task is called Cells, and it's a Mr. Denmead Explains. This is where there's a video for you to watch. So the link, we can open it up. And if I had internet, that would open up the video on YouTube to watch. And then there's always some questions to answer as you're watching the video. So the best technique for watching instructional videos in any subject really is to watch the video the whole way through and then go back, read the questions that you need to answer, and watch the video a second time and answer the questions as you're watching it, pausing it and rewinding if you need to. So watching a video at least twice, we know is the most effective way to learn new things on an instructional video. Okay, so when you've done that one, you move on again. Here's the next task. It's an application task, talking about how big are cells. So in this one, you'd read the instructions, and then there's a whole list of things to do, and there's a simulation to do for this one. So hopefully each task is self-explanatory. You go through every task. There's usually vocab practice at the end of each level. So you do the vocab. Then there's always a reflection task at the end where you need to read over the learning intentions again. So you're thinking what you learnt. And then answer the 2 questions. What did I accomplish? And what's important about what I learnt? So I always want you to think about what you're learning and think about yourself as a learner. If you're still not sure about any of these learning intentions, if those activities didn't help you, ask for help, that's fine. And of course, anytime on Teams, if we're doing working time, you can always post questions, you can email me, treat it like a normal class. So then the last task just says, collect a level 7 quiz from your teacher. So let's go back to the remote learning instructions, and now we're here. So when you finish a level, so we just finished level 7, make sure you've completed the reflection task. That should be done. If there's a parent or guardian at home, show them all the work you've done in your book, because every task you need to have written in your book. Discuss with them what you learnt, because talking about what you learnt is another way of helping you to remember. Then have someone sign your book at the end of the level. and then email me photos of all the tasks for that level. So when you finish level 7, send me pictures of all your level 7 work. And then I'll send you the level quiz. So this is a mini assessment. It's not, the remarks don't go anywhere, but it's like a hurdle. So you need to complete the quiz with no notes, no internet, and on your own to prove that you learnt everything at level 7. When you've done that, email it back to me and I'll give you some feedback. If there's things to improve, you go back and improve them. And then eventually, I give you the go ahead and you've finished that level. So then you can go back to your unit planner and circle all those level 7 skills because you've finished level 7. So you can track your learning and you can see what you're learning next as well. And then you download the activities for the next level and you do it all again. So that's how a lot of our learning will work. Like I said though, we'll often have a whole class activity too, where we're all working together. Okay, make sure you have all these resources downloaded and printed somewhere. I like to stick things on my wall when it's a list of instructions. And we'll be ready to get working on cells in our next lesson. All right, thanks everyone.